Welcome to Sports Science Insight, the channel where we break down sports science studies and translate research into practical ideas for training, recovery, and performance. What if one of the simplest performance upgrades was not a supplement, a new training method, or an expensive recovery device? What if it was just going to bed earlier? In this video, we are looking at a 2025 sports science study that tested whether one single night of extended sleep could improve physical and cognitive performance in physically active university students. The participants did not train differently. They did not take any special supplement. They simply extended their sleep by about 55 minutes, and then their performance was tested the next morning and afternoon. So the real question is, can almost one extra hour of sleep create measurable results? Stay with me until the end because the final takeaway may change how you think about recovery. And if you want more evidence based breakdowns on exercise physiology, training, recovery, and human performance, subscribe to Sports Science Insight. Let's break it down. Sleep is often treated as something passive, but for the body and brain, sleep is an active recovery process. During sleep, the body supports tissue repair, reduces fatigue, restores the nervous system, and prepares the brain for attention, reaction time, and decision making. For athletes and physically active people, this matters because performance is not only about muscle strength. It also depends on timing, coordination, focus, and how fast the brain can process information. That is why the slide describes sleep as the body and brain's ultimate performance reset system. It is like recharging a battery, but also updating the software. The body recovers and the brain becomes more prepared to react, decide, and execute movement. The study tested 24 physically active university students. The researchers compared two conditions. In one condition, the participants followed their normal sleep routine. In the other condition, they went to bed earlier to extend their sleep. This was not a long intervention lasting weeks or months. It was only one night. That makes the study very interesting from a practical point of view because athletes, coaches, and students often want to know what can be done before an important training session, competition, or test. The main target was the morning period because many people experience a drop in performance early in the day. So the question becomes very practical. Can one night of extra sleep help reduce that morning performance drop? The study used a randomized crossover design. This means that the same participants completed both conditions, normal sleep and extended sleep. This helps reduce individual differences because each participant is compared against themselves. Testing happened at three key moments. First, there was a baseline test at 8 p.m. Then, after the sleep condition, participants were tested again at 8 a.m. Finally, they were tested in the afternoon at 4 p.m. Sleep was monitored using wrist actigraphy, which is a wearable device that helps estimate sleep and wake patterns. This design allowed the researchers to examine not only whether extra sleep helped, but also whether the effect changed across the day. That is important because performance usually changes depending on the time of day. Many people perform worse in the morning and better later in the afternoon. The researchers used a broad testing battery. For physical performance, they measured speed, repeated sprint ability, fatigue resistance, jumping power, balance, and upper body power. This included the 5-meter shuttle run test, squat jump, counter movement jump, Y balance test, and medicine ball throw. For cognitive performance, they measured reaction time and selective attention. This included reaction time tests and the digit cancellation test. This is one of the strengths of the study. It did not look at only one outcome. It tested both the body and the brain. And that matters because sports performance is never just physical. A faster reaction, better attention, and better fatigue resistance can all influence how someone performs in real situations. The sleep extension protocol worked. In the normal sleep condition, participants slept about 476.5 minutes. In the extended sleep condition, they slept about 531.3 minutes. That is an increase of approximately 55 minutes. So when we say one extra hour in this video, we are talking about almost one full hour of additional sleep. The important point is that this was achieved in a very simple way by advancing bedtime. They did not rely on medication. They did not use a complex recovery intervention. They simply created more time for sleep, and the researchers verified it objectively. This is where the study becomes very useful for practice. A small behavioral change produced measurable differences in performance. The physical results were especially interesting in the morning. In the 5-meter shuttle run test at 8 a.m., the best distance improved from 93.3 meters in normal sleep to 102.8 meters after sleep extension. The fatigue index also improved. In normal sleep, it was 21.2%. After sleep extension, it dropped to 13.1%. That means participants were not only performing better, but also showing better fatigue resistance during repeated sprint efforts. Jump performance also improved. Squat jump height at 8 a.m. increased from 26.3 centimeters to 28.2 centimeters. The strongest physical effects appeared in tasks that required repeated effort and fatigue resistance. So the message is not that one night of extra sleep turns someone into a completely different athlete. The message is more realistic and more useful. Almost one extra hour of sleep may help the body perform better, especially in the morning when performance is often lower. The cognitive results were also important. At 8 a.m., simple reaction time improved from 296.4 milliseconds in normal sleep to 252.8 milliseconds after sleep extension. That is a meaningful improvement in processing speed. The digit cancellation test also improved. Participants identified more correct targets after sleep extension, which suggests better selective attention and mental processing. This matters because in sport, the brain is always part of the performance system. Reacting faster, staying focused, and processing information efficiently can influence decisions, movement timing, and technical execution. The study suggests that cognitive functions may be highly sensitive to sleep changes. In simple terms, when sleep improves, the brain may become faster and more accurate, especially early in the day. One of the most interesting parts of this study is the time of day effect. Human performance often changes across the day because of circadian rhythms. For many people, morning performance is not at its best. The body is still moving out of the circadian low point, and reaction time, power, and alertness may be reduced. The study showed that sleep extension did not erase the body clock. The afternoon still remained an important period for performance, but extra sleep helped reduce the morning drop. This means sleep extension may act like a buffer. It does not completely remove natural daily rhythms, but it may help the body and brain perform better when the morning is usually a disadvantage. For early morning training, competitions, military tasks, exams, or physically demanding work, this is a very practical finding. So, how can we use this information? First, adding 45 to 60 minutes of sleep may be a practical strategy before important morning events. Second, the best way to do this is usually by going to bed earlier, not only by trying to sleep later. Third, sleep quality still matters. More time in bed is useful, but efficient sleep is also important. Fourth, sleep extension should be seen as a low cost, non pharmacological strategy with very little downside for most people. But we also need to be careful. This study involved physically active university students, not elite professional athletes. It also tested only one night of sleep extension. So we should not say that this will work the same way for every person, in every sport, and in every situation. But the practical message is strong. Before chasing the next supplement, the next device, or the next performance hack, check your sleep. Sometimes the simplest intervention is the one we ignore the most. If this video helped you understand the science behind sleep and performance, subscribe to Sports Science Insight. Here we analyze new scientific studies and turn them into practical knowledge for athletes, coaches, students, and anyone interested in evidence-based performance. Leave your comment below. Would you test one extra hour of sleep before a morning workout or competition? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.